We all know the familiar story of A Christmas Carol. Ebenezer Scrooge, a bitter, lonely miser, is visited on Christmas Eve by 3 ghosts who force him to confront his past, his present, and the terrifying future he's headed toward. By Christmas morning, he awakens transformed, charitable, joyful, reborn. That's the version everyone knows. The bedtime story morality tale about being kind to others. But here's the thing, that's only scratching the surface. The public face of the story, the version Charles Dickens could comfortably sell in a Victorian publishing market, because beneath the cheerful ending lies something much stranger. A structure that isn't just narrative, but ritual, spiritual, and deeply personal. Scrooge is uniquely chosen. No one else in London receives this intervention. Why him? To see it, we need to look at why Dickens wrote this story in the first place. Dickens never gave a detailed explanation of the supernatural mechanics of A Christmas Carol. He told us the moral, but not the metaphysics. He only said he wanted to strike a sledgehammer blow to selfishness. But look at what he actually created. A man who is spiritually dead, guided through a multi-stage underworld, forced to witness his own death, and then return to life with new purpose. That is not just a moral lesson, it's a death and rebirth ceremony, a classic initiation. We've seen this ritual structure everywhere. Ancient mystery religions, medieval morality plays, alchemical literature, shamanic initiation journeys. Whether Dickens intended it consciously or not, the bones of this older archetype are all here. And here's where it gets interesting. Dickens didn't treat ghosts as just spooky window dressing. He believed in haunting, not necessarily the jump scare kind, but the kind that lingers inside you. The past, regret, memory, death. He grew up surrounded by suffering, his father thrown in debtor's prison, his childhood spent in poverty-level labor. Biographers describe him pacing the streets of London at night, muttering scenes of the story aloud to himself as if he were channeling something, not just inventing it. Friends worried about him. He seemed possessed by the story. He wrote it in just 6 weeks, faster than almost anything else he ever made. So when we talk about Scrooge, we're not just talking about a character. We're talking about Dickens himself. Scrooge is his shadow, the part of him twisted by trauma, fear of poverty, and the belief that compassion could save a broken world. So if Scrooge feels eerily real, it's because it's probable that he is based on a real person, the man who wrote him. Most adaptations flatten the story into Scrooge was mean, ghosts arrive, and now he's nice. But that's not what actually happens. Scrooge doesn't just learn a lesson. He is dismantled, confronted, destroyed, and reassembled into someone new. He experiences death, future, judgment, present, trauma, excavation, past. 3 phases, 3 spirits, 1 awakening. This is the moment where A Christmas Carol stops being a children's story and reveals its true structure, a ritual journey through the underworld. So here's the twist. Scrooge doesn't just survive this journey. He becomes something else. Someone who has walked through death, seen beyond time, and returned with forbidden knowledge. This is the classic signature of a guide between worlds. Much like the Grim Reaper, a being who crosses the boundary between life and death and comes back changed. In becoming compassionate, Scrooge doesn't merely reform. He ascends. He becomes, symbolically or spiritually, an apprentice of death, a man being trained by spirits to one day guide others. That's his hidden identity. Not just a reformed miser, but a soul initiated into the mysteries of death. And the story's happy ending suddenly looks very different, because Christmas morning isn't just redemption, it's resurrection. Now, everyone calls them three ghosts. But that might be the biggest misunderstanding in the entire story, because these spirits don't behave like three separate characters. They behave like three faces of the same being. In myth, this is everywhere. Humanity has always used triples to describe supernatural power: past, present, future, maiden, mother, crone, the three fates of Greece, the Norns of Norse myth, the Moringa of Ireland. Different cultures, different centuries, same pattern, a single force divided across time. And Dickens uses that exact structure. The ghost of Christmas past isn't just a person. Its appearance shifts constantly. Child, old man, androgynous, ageless. It refuses a fixed identity because the past is never stable. The ghost of Christmas present ages right in front of Scrooge, burning through an entire lifespan in a single night, because the present never stops moving. And the ghost of Christmas yet to come is silent, faceless, unreadable, because the future is unknown. Three visitations, but only one order. They come together, appointed, on the same night. Their mission is unified. When one finishes, the next immediately continues the work, as if passing a single torch. Even their timing is symbolic. Midnight to dawn, a ritual darkness that ends in rebirth. So the story never presents them as random apparitions. They are a coordinated force, not three ghosts, but time itself. Time breaking into three pieces so Scrooge can see his life from every angle. A single ghost couldn't transform him. Only time could. And when Dickens splits time into past, present, and future, he's participating in a tradition far older than Christmas. Dickens instinctively stepped into a pattern cultures have used for millennia to describe forces that are too big for one body. So when people ask, are there three ghosts? The answer is yes and no. There are three forms, but one power. The spirits aren't teachers. They're a single judge, not guiding Scrooge through time, but showing him that time is the judge. Marley is usually treated as a simple plot device, a spooky messenger telling Scrooge to change. But if you look closely, his role is much stranger and much bigger. First, Marley appears before the three spirits, not as one of them, but as something separate, sent ahead. He tells Scrooge he comes by permission, not by choice, saying, I am here tonight to warn you that you have yet a chance and hope of escaping my fate. Those aren't his words. They're instructions someone or something sent him. Marley is not acting out of kindness. He's fulfilling an assignment. And when he explains his punishment, he doesn't say he committed crimes or harmed people or broke laws. He says, I wear the chain I forged in life. His sin was that he cared nothing for humanity. He devoted his existence to business, money, and self-interest and became spiritually useless. So now he wanders, dragging the weight he forged. But here's where it gets interesting. Marley doesn't just warn Scrooge. He evaluates him. Everything about their conversation reads like a test. Does Scrooge fear death? Does he believe in the supernatural? Is he redeemable? Is he capable of compassion? Because Marley isn't just there to save Scrooge. He is there to determine whether Scrooge can succeed where he failed. Marley even implies this directly. He doesn't say, you must save yourself. He says, you can avoid my fate. Meaning, Scrooge was on track to become the next Marley. Not just another fated soul, but another failed guide. Marley was supposed to help humanity. He didn't. So now, the spirits are considering a replacement Scrooge. This changes the tone of the entire story. Marley isn't warning Scrooge for Scrooge's sake. He's recruiting him into a job that Marley failed to perform, intervening in human lives before it's too late. Maybe Marley's story didn't end with his death. Maybe it ended when he failed someone the way Scrooge is failing people now. And if Scrooge doesn't change, he won't just be punished. He'll be forced to take over Marley's role, a wandering spirit doomed to guide the person who comes after him. Think about this. The ghost of Christmas past doesn't just show trauma. It shows the moment Scrooge diverged from his true path. When Belle leaves him, Scrooge doesn't just lose love, he loses his destiny. He abandons connection for coin. That moment explains why the higher powers choose him. Marley failed. Scrooge could have been better. So the spirits give him a second chance to become what he was originally meant to be. The man Bell believed he could become. Now here's the interpretation that basically every literature professor agrees on. Scrooge is Charles Dickens. Not literally, but as a self-portrait, Dickens poured his own life into this character. Childhood trauma, a father imprisoned for debt, working in a factory at age 12, lifelong fear of poverty, sudden rise to extreme fame and wealth. He knew both sides of the coin. He had once been poor enough to starve and later became rich enough to ignore suffering. Scrooge represents that contradiction. The part of Dickens frightened he'd become a man who looked away. To Dickens, A Christmas Carol wasn't just a ghost story. It was self-surgery, a writer dissecting his own soul on the page. But here's the uncomfortable truth, and this is where the story gets complicated. Dickens passionately wrote about compassion, generosity, and redemption, but he didn't always live up to his own message. He could be harsh at home. He separated from his wife Catherine after 10 children, tried to have her declared unstable, grew emotionally distant from his oldest children, likely maintained a secret relationship with a young actress. It's ironic, the man who saved Tiny Tim on the page struggled to be gentle with the people closest to him. So Scrooge becomes the version of Dickens he wished he could be, the redeemed man, the man who learns compassion before it's too late. Scrooge's secret identity is Dickens' moral conscience, the better angel he was trying to write into existence. So in the end, Scrooge's identity isn't just grumpy old man becomes nice. That's the hallmark reading. But the deeper story says, death takes Scrooge apart so he can be rebuilt into someone whose life is no longer his own. He is an apprentice to the spirits, learning how to guide souls, carrying real-world compassion forward, becoming Dickens' own imagined self, redeemed with purpose. The true power of Scrooge is not simply that he changes, but what he changes into. Not just a good citizen, but a spiritual guardian, someone who sees beyond life. Just like Dickens, Scrooge emerges with a mission to protect, uplift, and guide others through the same darkness he once lived in. In that sense, he becomes what Marley failed to be, a guide, a protector, a keeper of souls. And that makes A Christmas Carol not just a holiday tale, but an initiation, a story about the terrifying moment when you face your death and wake up as someone new, reborn into a purpose larger than yourself. Let me know in the comments if you could encounter one of the ghosts tonight. Which one would you choose? Christmas past, Christmas present, or the ghost of Christmas yet to come? Thanks for watching.